So what are the 21 things not to do when renting a car in Costa Rica? Stay tuned to this episode of Costa Rica Story because that's just what we're going to talk about. Hey there, welcome to Costa Rica Story, and if this is your first time here, my name is Ed. I make videos about Costa Rica and my life here in Costa Rica. If you're a regular here, part of the Good Vibe tribe, my name still is Ed, and you know what I do. So, without a doubt, the biggest question that I get, it's always been this way. The biggest question people will ask me is, how can I rent a car in Costa Rica without getting scammed? How can I rent a car in Costa Rica without paying more than I need to pay? And that's an ongoing thing because there are scams that exist here. There's definitely scams that exist, but the main problem people have is not understanding things that are required, the different kinds of insurance that are required. And we'll get into that in this video of 21 things not to do when renting a car in Costa Rica. And I did a video last year about the same topic, and actually there's a few things that I learned more intelligently about the insurance. I'm going to talk. The insurance is more nuanced than I initially thought, and than a lot of people know. So the insurance in Costa Rica is probably one of the most misunderstood things about renting a car, and we'll get into that. And also, I've got a web page where you can rent a car through the company that I've always used, and full disclosure, I get a small commission for that. But on my page at uvitaday.com, where I have my rental car stuff, I've got a really good frequently asked questions section there. So check that out. That should answer any of the questions that you have. And if you have a question that isn't on there, we'll let me know, and maybe we'll add that to the frequently asked questions. And make sure you stay to the end of this video, because at the very end, I'm going to have a walkthrough how to go through and make your reservation for the car right on my website at uvitaday.com. And I've always used Alamo. They've always been the car company that I use, and I'm partners with Alamo now, and I'm having a lot of fun. I've got a friend, Elvis, and we're doing some test driving with some of the cars, and we got another next week or the week after. We're going to be doing another test drive, and if you'd like to vote on the car that we should take on that test drive, I'll leave the link to that down below in the description. So yes, make sure you stay to the end so you can do that little walkthrough. We're going to have a little demo of things to check. I mean, there's a lot of options you have here for renting a car. It's not just insurance A, insurance B. There's other options that you can have. All right, so let's go through the 21 things not to do when renting a car here in Costa Rica. And the first thing is you choose the wrong car rental company. And there's a lot of options here, especially you'll look on social media, you'll see a lot of too good to be true deals. So choose a reputable car rental company, and you're going to avoid a lot of the hassles, a lot of the scams, a lot of the tricks. And I'll tell you, I use Alamo. I've always used Alamo. They've been the company that I've used for 4.5 years here, the company that I always recommend, and the company that I'm currently partnering with. So Alamo is a great choice. You choose the wrong kind of car. And for me, this is Costa Rica. It's got smooth roads in places, but it doesn't take long to find yourself on like a pothole-filled dirt road with crazy hills and mud. You never know what you're going to get into. You never know when there's going to be a stream crossing. So I highly advise getting a four-wheel drive vehicle. No matter where you think you're going, Costa Rica has a way of throwing distractions at you. We're throwing detours at you. Literally, like you'll be on Waze and you're going somewhere, and Waze will put you on a little detour, and maybe you're going to be on a dirt road that you didn't expect to be on. So it's better to be prepared. So a four-wheel drive vehicle, I highly recommend. But that's just me. You may be different, but I say go with a 4x4. You don't inspect the car at the office of the car rental car company before you leave. You need to go all the way around the car and make sure you find any cosmetic damage, see if there's any dents, see if there's any dings in the doors, see if there's any broken windows, little things in the glass. Check out the lights and things like that. Also make sure that the paperwork is in the glove box for the legal paperwork for being able to drive. Make sure that's in there, because that's one of the things, if that's not in there, you'll be charged for that. So I'll be talking about that in a point later on in this list. You don't check the tires. That's another thing you need to do a walk around. Check the tires. Make sure that the tires have good tread on them. Make sure that they have good air pressure in them. And if they look like they don't have the right air pressure, talk to the people at the car rental agency. They'll have a gauge. They can check it out. And if they need to add more air, they can do that there. They usually have mechanics on hand that can help you out with that. So you don't want to you don't want to start your trip with bad tires. You don't become familiar with the little details of the car. And it sounds like a small thing, and it kind of is, but you want to know how to use the defroster. You want to know how to use the air conditioning. You want to know where the gas tank is, what side the gas tank's on, and also how to open the gas tank. I've done that before in the States, where I got a car, and there's some of the tanks are locked, and you don't know how to do it. Sometimes there's little tricks to opening up the locks, and if you don't know how to do that, make sure you ask at the car rental office, and they'll be happy to help you with that. Yeah, even the radio, if you want to be able to use the radio. If you have questions about that, don't feel embarrassed to ask about that. And if there's a navigation unit on there, make sure you find out how to use that, or how it pairs with your phone. If there's these little details, taking care of them before you leave can save yourself a lot of hassles. You don't make sure you have a way to charge your cell phone. And your cell phone's important. You use it for navigation. You use it for communication. And a lot of times, if you're with a not reliable car company, you'll have an older car, and maybe it won't have a USB port to plug in. If you go with a modern day car rental company, most of them have new cars. Most of them do have a place where you can plug your phone into the USB port. But you also have to make sure that you have your charging materials. Any little adapters you need, any little cords you need, you have to have that with you. So make sure you bring that. The credit card that you're using to book your car has a very low credit limit. And that can be a problem if you plan on using that card for other things on your trip. Because when you rent the car, there will be a certain amount put for a deposit. It's not deducted from your card, but it's a hold, maybe $500-600 hold that'll be on your card that won't be available to use during your trip. So make sure that if you're using a card for the car, maybe that could be a dedicated card just for the car if it doesn't have that high of a credit limit. But just be aware of that, because you don't want to cut yourself short there. You don't have the contact information for the rental car company. And this is something you need in case there's an emergency, or you have any questions about the car, or maybe even if you're making changes in your plans. So you can usually find that on the contract. Make sure you have that information. Put it in your phone. Store it. Write it down. Have an extra copy. You don't top off the tank before you bring it back to the rental car company. And when you do that, you will incur a heavier charge than it would have cost you just to fill it up. So it's not that hard to do. Just top the tank off before you bring it back. You don't ask about transportation from the airport to the car rental offices. And most reliable car rental companies are going to give you a shuttle to go from the airport to the rental car facilities, which are probably like 15 minutes from the airport. I know Alamo has a presence at the airport 24/7, so they're a great option to go with, and they will take you from the airport to their car rental offices. And I think the name is Belén. Belén is the name of the little town that's in. Anyway, make sure you check that information. It's critical, and a lot of people have been asking me that lately, and especially the operating hours, because you don't want to get in there and there's nobody there. So you want to know the procedure. Like, for example, when you're coming into San Jose, the airport in San Jose, You go through immigration and all that, and then you look for the Alamo rental car little kiosk, and somebody there will help you. You have the wrong shoes for driving. And I know you might be in vacation mode and you got a pair of flip-flops on, and if you're not used to driving in flip-flops, it could be bad. Flip-flops aren't great to drive in anyway. I drive in sandals, but they're the kind of sandals that are strapped to my feet. I've got a pair of Tevas, and they seem to work okay for me. But if you're not used to driving in vacation kind of open-toe shoes, it might be a good idea just to make sure you got your good old tennis shoes, your sneakers to drive in. Insurance. So this is the huge one, and we'll get into more details on this later in the video, but the insurance choices are, to many people, are perplexing. But there's two basic things to remember. There's two kinds of insurance that are the big options here, and the first option isn't even an option. It's third-party liability, and that's mandatory. Costa Rica says you have to have that, and that's not something that your credit card will help you purchase. That's something that you have to pay. So always check that box. That's always going to be a box for you to check. And the other is there's collision, which is the car companies do require that because that's how they protect their cars. So if you get into an accident, you have to be able to have insurance to protect their car. So that can sometimes be covered with your credit card. Your credit cards have benefits. So before you leave, talk to your credit card company, ask them if they do have the benefits of paying for the insurance, and make sure that you specify that you're going to be in Costa Rica, specify the kind of vehicle you're going to have, and get this in writing. So when you come to the car rental agency, you'll have this in writing that you're covered for that. Because if you don't, then they can say, well, you don't have proof that you have coverage. So this is the thing that a lot of people say, well, I went there and they said I had to get this insurance and blah, blah, blah. So go to my frequently asked questions page on my website. I do a more eloquent way of speaking when I'm not speaking. When I can write it down, it's a lot more eloquent. So check that out there. It can be confusing. So we'll get into that. At the end of the video, I'll talk more about that because we're going to do a kind of a walkthrough, a click-through more accurately. So I'm going to go through the website and show you the different options that you can pick. So this one's related to what I was just talking about. You don't contact your credit card company to see what coverage they may offer you. So that's a conversation you need to have, and in your planning, not just at the last minute, not at the airport. This is something that you need to do because if you can provide proof that you have coverage for collision, and we're not talking about the mandatory third-party liability that the government makes you have. We're talking about the insurance that the car rental company wants you to have to protect their vehicle. So your credit card company may help you with that. Make sure you have that conversation with your credit card company. Driving over your allotted mileage. And with Alamo, that's not an issue. Alamo has unlimited mileage, and you're not geographically restricted other than you have to stay in Costa Rica. So you can't go across into Nicaragua or you can't go down into Panama, but you can go anywhere within Costa Rica. And I say that because sometimes you can get yourself into a contract with someone with a rental car, and they will give you not only limited miles, but they'll give you geographic restrictions. I want to use this example of a client that came here, and he rented a car from a property manager, and it was kind of a nightmare. It was a car that it didn't have a lot of power. It's the car that we tried to go up the mountains with it, and it just wouldn't go. Not that it would spin, but something was wrong with the transmission. But the weird contract he had, it didn't just limit the amount of miles he could put on the car. It limited the geography. He had geographic restrictions. So he couldn't even go from here in Uvita. He couldn't even go to Jaco. Jaco is too far. So If you rent from Alamo, you don't have to deal with that. You can go from border to border. You just can't cross the border. So be aware of that. Be aware of what the limitations may be. So you drop off your car in a different location than you initially rented from. And sometimes this will incur charges, sometimes it won't, but you need to be aware of that when you're renting the car. Is it going to cost you more to drop it off at another location? Maybe your plans will change and you need to drop it off at a different location, but you just need to be aware of the rules. Just be educated on that. You're late returning your car. And with a rental-car contract, you have a responsibility as well as the rental car company. So if you are running a little bit late, contact them. Maybe they'll cut you some slack, but it's not hard to be on time. But I understand things happen sometimes, but do your best. Give yourself extra time. Here in Costa Rica, you always have to give yourself extra time because things just always seem to take longer. Traffic will be tied up, or there'll be a boulder in the road somewhere causing a construction issue. So just try to be on time returning your car. You book with some of the big name travel apps in the States, like your Travelocity, Expedia, and all those. They're so far removed from Costa Rica, they have no clue what's going on here. Book directly here. You get extras that you don't need. And if you don't need GPS, if you've got your phone and you plan on navigating with that, don't be upsold on getting GPS that you don't need. And I mean, even with the insurance, if you're sure that your credit card will cover the collision insurance that the car rental company requires of you, and you've got documentation for that, there's no sense in getting more insurance. But that being said, you need to have that documentation. You need to make sure of that. That's just something you need to educate yourself on. You wait too long to book your car. And I know it's easy to put these things off, but if you wait too long, especially during the high season, your options are going to be limited. Your options for cars and your options for a time period for your car. So get that booked as soon as you can. You don't make sure that your driver's license and passport, both your driver's license and passport, are current. And it sounds crazy, but it's happened. I had a client last year that happened with. And they don't take photocopies. They don't take photos of your license. It has to be your physical license and your physical passport. So both of those travel documents, they have to be on your person if you're going to rent a car. So when you're packing your bags and getting ready to go, just double check your license, double check your passport. And this isn't just for driving, it's for everything that you're going to need it for here in Costa Rica. You want to be up to date and current. And let's start off with having it ready for your car rental, but it may come in handy if you need it for your hotel or if you get pulled over by the police or whatever. You want to have your documents current. You don't take care of the car keys and the documentation for driving. So in the glove box, there should be some papers with kind of the registration kind of thing and proof of insurance. All that paperwork should be in your glove box. Also, your keys. Car keys are very, very expensive. If you lose your car keys or they get damaged, that could be like $500 or $600 just to pay for your car keys. So make sure that you take very good care of the car keys. Make sure that make sure that the paperwork is there. So when you're checking your car out, open up the glove box, go through it, make sure it's got that paperwork in there, because if it doesn't, say, hey, I need this paperwork because I don't want to be charged for it when I come back because there's no paperwork there. So take good care of your car keys, make sure you've got your paperwork, and I think you're going to have a great time here in Costa Rica. So now we're going to take you into my website and we're going to show you how to book a car right on uvitaday.com. Here we go. So let's go to uvitaday.com, then click on the car. It takes us to the rental car page. And all we have to do is enter the first 2 letters of the place we want to pick up the car. In this case, San Jose for the airport. We'll just choose this random date. We're going to go with a SUV and automatic. And it's showing us a Vitara, and that's not a 4x4. So we selected that, and now it's asking us if we want to upgrade to a 4x4. And we'll say yes to that. Shows you how much more it is. So then the next thing we need to do, this is the insurance that you have to choose. We go down and we select third-party liability because we have to have that. The government says we need that. And if your credit card will not cover you for collision, you need to check this next box here. And all the other boxes are pretty much optional things. A lot of them would be good idea to have. So then you click continue, and it's going to remind you of some options that you have. And if you don't want any of these options, you just say continue without adding. And at any point, if you want to see what the breakdown in price is, you just need to click here. And as you can see, anytime you add anything or subtract anything to your rental, it's reflected in the price above. So this is one way of getting an instant price quote. If you'd like to lock that in, you just fill out the rest of the form. If you've been enjoying the videos here on Costa Rica Story and you'd like to contribute to the channel, just go to uvitaday.com to see how. Also, the links will be down below in the description. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee page, so if you'd like to buy me a coffee, it's another great way to contribute to the channel. And I would really like you to come to Uvita and experience the Uvita Day adventure with me. It's a really cool tour of Uvita. I'll show you Uvita in a way that you will never see any other way. So uvitaday.com for more information on that. Another great way to help support the channel is to book your car rental through me. You can do that at uvitaday.com. Links down below in the description.